Good morning, students. So, today we'll start with a new bone, which is the scapula. Now, like the previous bone, we have to talk about the scapula in the points that we have discussed in the previous video also. So, the bone in my hand is the scapula. Now, this is the left sided scapula, and therefore I am holding it in my left hand. This is my left hand. Okay, so that is the first thing. You have to identify the bone first, then you classify the bone. What type of a bone is scapula? If you can see, the scapula is a flat bone, or you can add one more thing, it's a flat irregular bone. Okay, and where is the scapula placed? The scapula is placed along the posterior wall of the thoracic cavity, and the vertical extent of the scapula, it extends from the second thoracic vertebra to the seventh thoracic vertebra. So it extends from T2 to T7. And all of you can observe this. This is the spine of the scapula, and the root of the spine will lie at the level of T3. Now all these questions can be asked as MCQs or Viva questions. Okay, so remember this. So vertical extent of the scapula is going to be from the second thoracic vertebra to the seventh thoracic vertebra, and the spine of the scapula, the root of the spine, is going to lie at the level of T3. Now these landmarks are going to be helpful for you to count the vertebra when you are going to do surface marking, or count the vertebra in the living for doing certain procedures like especially lumbar puncture or all those things. Okay, so that is about the extent of the scapula. Now then you come to the osteological features of the scapula. Now the scapula has, if you understand how I am going to teach the scapula, follow the points that how I am going to teach, so that it becomes easier for you to understand the muscle attachments and all other things of the scapula also. So what does the scapula have? If you talk about the osteology, if you look at the scapula, it's a flat triangular bone which is present on the posterior aspect of the thoracic cavity. It has two surfaces. See, you can see this concave surface which is facing the front. This is called as the anterior surface, and then there is a posterior surface. This is also called as the costal surface, and this is also called as a dorsal surface. So there are two surfaces, the costal surface and the dorsal surface. And how do you identify these surfaces? The costal surface is concave and the dorsal surface is marked by a spine. So this is how you identify the anterior and the posterior surfaces, or the costal surface and the dorsal surface. So that is first. We'll detail the surfaces later. First we'll understand what is there exactly in the osteology points that we are going to elaborate. So two surfaces. Then there you have three. Rule of three is there. So you will have three borders. There is a superior border, then there is a medial border and a lateral border. So you can see this. So there is a superior border, there is a medial border and a lateral border. Then there are three processes. You can see this process, this beak-like process which is coming in the front. This is called as the coracoid process. Then you have this process. This is called as a spine, or it is also called as a spinous process. And the spinous process will continue further as the acromion process. Okay, so three borders, three surfaces, and three angles. Which are the three angles? See, you can see this. This is the superior angle, this is the inferior angle, and this is called as the lateral angle or the glenoid angle. So we are going to elaborate the osteology on these features. What is this? First, you have to understand there are two surfaces, the costal surface and the dorsal surface, or anterior surface and posterior surface. Three borders, superior border, medial border and lateral border. Three processes, coracoid process, spinous process or spine, and acromion process. And three angles, superior angle, inferior angle and lateral angle or glenoid angle. Okay. So these are the points on which we are going to elaborate the osteology on. So to go further, to discuss the details of each of these points now, first we'll talk about the costal surface. Now you can see this is the concave costal surface, and if you can closely observe, you can see that there is 1, 2 and 3. You can see these horizontal markings which are there on the costal surface. These markings are markings of the ribs. So these are the characteristics. This is the characteristic feature of the costal surface which has horizontal markings on it, which show the markings of the ribs. And because this surface is in contact with the ribs markings are going to be present on the costal surface. So that is the costal surface. It is concave. This surface is also called as subscapular fossa. Sub meaning below, scapula means scapula. So this is also called as subscapular fossa. Okay, you remember the name of this fossa because of some muscle with the same name is going to arise from this fossa. So I hope you have understood the costal surface. Now the dorsal surface or the posterior surface, I told you, is identified by the presence of the spine. Now, because of the presence of the spine, the dorsal surface is divided into two fossae: the fossa above the spine, which is called as supraspinous fossa, and the fossa below the spine, which is called as infraspinous fossa. And as in contrast to the costal surface, this dorsal surface is convex. The costal surface was concave. So, because of the spine, the dorsal surface will get divided into supraspinous fossa and infraspinous fossa. So, that is the dorsal surface. So two surfaces understood. Now we'll talk about the three borders. Now you can see the three borders are the superior border, the medial border, and the lateral border. Now how do you see the superior border? The superior border, if you can check here, this is the sharp superior border. Now if you talk about, it starts from the coracoid process, the root of the coracoid process, and goes upwards and meets the medial border, and when both these borders meet, they will form the superior angle. I hope you can understand and you can see this. So superior border is sharp. It starts from the coracoid process and goes upwards and meets the medial border and forms the superior angle. Now another characteristic feature which you can observe here, see if there is a, you can observe that there is a notch here at the root of the coracoid process, just at the beginning of the superior border. This notch is called as suprascapular notch. Now this suprascapular notch is converted into a foramen. I have placed this pencil here. So there is a ligament which is going to be placed here above this notch, which is called as suprascapular ligament. And this ligament is going to convert the suprascapular notch into the suprascapular foramen. Now the suprascapular nerve is going to pass below the notch, below the ligament, and the suprascapular artery is going to pass above the ligament. Clear? So superior border is sharp. It starts from the coracoid process and runs upwards and meets the medial border to form the superior angle. At the root of this superior, at the beginning of the superior border, at the root of the coracoid process, there is a notch which is called as suprascapular notch. This notch is converted into a foramen by the suprascapular ligament. The suprascapular nerve passes below the ligament, and suprascapular artery passes above the ligament. Okay, that is the superior border. And also we have talked about the superior angle. Now you see the next border. This is the medial border. Now medial border again is thin. Okay, it is thin and it extends from the superior angle to the inferior angle. So this is the medial border. Okay, so this is how you identify the medial border. The third border is the lateral border. This is, you can see this very thick. The lateral border is very thick and it extends from the glenoid angle to the inferior angle. So this is the description of the three borders: the superior border, the medial border, and the lateral border. Now the three processes, you can see this process, the beak-like process which is there here. This is called as the coracoid process. Now the coracoid process in anatomical position, this is what, how you hold the scapula in anatomical position. The coracoid process is going to be facing forwards. Okay, it's going to be facing forwards. Okay, and anteriorly and forwards. Okay, so this is how the coracoid process is going to be placed. Now this coracoid process has a tip. Here you can see this is the tip of the coracoid process, and then there is a superior surface. Okay, so coracoid process will have a tip and a superior surface. That is the coracoid process. Now you need to carefully understand these two processes, the spinous process of the spine and the acromion process. Okay, now I hope you can understand this. So this is the spine and this will continue as the acromion process. Now if you check the spine, what has happened because of the spine is there on the dorsum. It divides this dorsal surface into supraspinous fossa and infraspinous fossa. Now this, if you look at the spine, now see what does the spine have? The spine will have a upper lip, okay, and then you have a lower lip. Okay, this lower lip of the spine is also called as the crest of the spine. I hope you can see this. So you can, this will be called as the upper border or superior border, and this is the inferior border. Okay, this will be called as the crest of the spine. Now if you observe that the upper border of the spine is going to continue as the medial border of the acromion. See here, upper border of the spine is going to continue as medial border of the acromion. I hope I can show you this. See, you can see this border, the superior border is going to continue as medial border of the acromion, and you can see that this inferior border is going to continue as lateral border of the acromion. Now if you observe very carefully, one more thing is that this inferior border, which is the crest of the spine, this has a thickening here. So this upper part here, which I am trying to mark here, is this is called as the upper lip, and this is called as the lower lip of the crest. Okay, I hope you can see this. See, I have tried to mark with the pen here. This is the upper lip of the crest of the spine, and then you will have the lower lip of the crest of the spine. Okay, so that is the lower. This is very important because there are certain muscles which are going to be attached here. Okay, so that is about the spine, and the spine also will have a superior surface which forms the base of the supraspinous fossa, and the inferior surface which forms the roof of the infraspinous fossa. Okay, so that is the spine. Now you come to the third process, which is the acromion process. Now the acromion process has a medial border and a lateral border. See if I can show you this properly. This is the medial border and this is the lateral border, and this is the superior surface, and then there is a inferior surface. Okay, now the medial border of the acromion process, if you can observe here, see here, you can see that there is a facet. Okay, this you can see that there is a facet here on the medial border of the acromion. This facet is going to articulate with the clavicle, and this is lateral end of the clavicle, and it is going to form acromioclavicular joint. Okay, the superior surface of the acromion is going to be subcutaneous, and inferior surface of the acromion is related to a bursa, which is called as the subacromial bursa. Clear? So I hope you have understood the three processes now. The coracoid process, which is a beak shaped process, which is pointing forwards. It has a tip, it has a superior surface, and then we have talked of the spine, which has the upper border and the lower border. The lower border is called as the crest of the spine. If you can see this, this is the upper lip of the crest of the spine, and this is the lower lip of the crest of the spine. The crest of the spine will continue as the lateral border of the acromion, and upper lip will continue, upper border of the spine will continue as the medial border of the acromion. So that is about the main things which we have talked. We have talked of two surfaces, we have talked of three borders, and we talked of the three angles. Now I'll again repeat the three angles. You have the superior angle here, which is there between the superior border and the medial border. This is the superior angle. Between the medial and the lateral border, you have the inferior angle. And then this is the most important angle. This is the thick angle which is here. This is called as the glenoid angle, which is the glenoid cavity of the scapula. Now this glenoid cavity of the scapula is going to articulate with the head of the humerus to form the shoulder joint. Now two important things which you need to observe here. If I can show you this, the pencil is pointing towards the tubercle which is present above the glenoid cavity, and this is called as supraglenoid tubercle, and there is a small projection at the lower part of the glenoid cavity which is called infraglenoid tubercle. So this is another important thing which you need to understand, that is there is a supraglenoid tubercle here at the upper part, and there is an infraglenoid tubercle. So this angle is called as the lateral angle or the glenoid angle. One more important thing which is there, see, this is the spine of the scapula, this is the glenoid cavity, and there is a notch here. This is called as spinoglenoid notch. Okay, so this notch is called as spinoglenoid notch. Okay, I hope I have made you the scapula osteology as simple as possible. Remember the things as I've told you: two surfaces, three borders, three angles, and three processes. Okay, now we'll talk about the muscle attachments of the scapula, keeping in mind all these things only. Because if you start reading the textbook, they have given the muscle attachments as different. They have listed the origins of the muscles and insertions of the muscles. So if you follow this formula of 2 3 3 3, so you can understand the muscles that are attached all along these things. Okay, so first we'll talk about the muscle attachments on the surfaces. This I told you, this costal surface is also called as subscapular fossa, and the subscapularis is going to originate from the anterior 2/3 of this fossa. So subscapularis is going to originate from the anterior 2/3 of the subscapular fossa. Then the posterior surface of the dorsal surface has supraspinous fossa and infraspinous fossa. From the supraspinous fossa, the middle 2/3 of the supraspinous fossa, you will have the origin of the supraspinatus, and from the medial 2/3 of the infraspinous fossa, you will have the origin of infraspinatus. Okay, so those two surfaces which I told you, subscapular fossa, origin of subscapularis. From the suprascapular fossa, you will have the origin of the supraspinatus. From the infraspinous fossa, you will have the origin of infraspinatus. Clear? So this is about the surfaces. Now you can talk about the borders. There are three borders: superior border, medial border, and lateral border. Now what we saw in the superior border, I showed you that there is a notch here at the superior border, beginning of the superior border. This is called a suprascapular notch. Now the margin of this notch is going to give origin to an important muscle of the neck, which is going to cut the posterior triangle of the neck. This is called as inferior belly of omohyoid. This is called inferior belly of omohyoid. The inferior belly of omohyoid originates from the suprascapular notch, or the area near the suprascapular notch, and that is only muscle attachment we have to remember at the superior border. Now the medial border is important from muscle attachment point of view. Now the medial border is thin with the muscle attachments which are there on the medial border. It has attachments on the costal surface also and on the dorsal surface also. Now there is a muscle which is inserted on the costal surface of the medial border, a very important muscle which is inserted on the costal surface of the medial border, that is called serratus anterior. Now serratus anterior has 8 digitations. 8 digitation meaning finger-like processes. The muscle originates by 8 finger-like processes. So there are 8 digitations on the of the serratus anterior which are inserted on the costal surface of the medial border. 1 digitation goes at the superior angle, 2 digitations come along the medial border, and 5 digitations are attached on the inferior angle. So this is how the serratus anterior is going to be inserted. So that is the attachment of the medial border on the costal surface. Now when you talk about the dorsal surface, you can see that the dorsal surface, because the spine will be divided into 3 parts. The medial surface of the, because of the spine, will be divided into 3 parts. The part between the superior angle and the root of the spine. Then you have the part of the root of the spine, and then you will have the area of the medial border below the root of the spine. 3 different muscles are attached here. The area between the superior angle to the root of the spine, you have insertion of levator scapulae. Levator scapulae is the muscle which is going to elevate the scapula. So you will have insertion of levator scapulae here. At the root of the spine, you will have the insertion of rhomboides minor, and from the root of the spine to the inferior angle, you have insertion of rhomboides major. So medial border has attachments on the costal surface also and on the dorsal surface also, as I have described it now. Now the lateral border, which is thick, and this lateral border has attachments only on the dorsal surface. There are no attachments on the costal surface. Now the dorsal surface of the lateral border has 2 muscles. One muscle, and in the upper 2/3 you have the origin of teres minor, and in the lower 1/3 you have origin of teres major. Now what you have to understand very carefully is that this origin of the teres minor is going to be interrupted by an artery which is going to be there here in middle, which will be called as circumflex scapular artery. If you observe the figure there, the origin of teres minor is interrupted by an artery which is called circumflex scapular artery. In the books also they have shown the teres minor originating in two parts with a gap in between, and that gap. Now the attachments on the processes, as I told you that there are 3 processes: the coracoid process, the acromion process, and the spinous process of the spine. First we'll talk about the coracoid process here. Now the coracoid process has attachments on the tip and on the superior surface. Now, the tip of the coracoid process gives origin to 2 muscles, the short head of the biceps, and it originates along with the coracobrachialis. So there are 2 muscles which are originating from the tip of the coracoid process, the short head of the biceps and the coracobrachialis, and the superior surface of the coracoid process receives the insertion of pectoralis minor. So that is the coracoid process. There are 3 ligaments also which are attached to the coracoid process. The question will be asked attachments on the coracoid process, so you should start that there are 3 ligaments and 3 muscles. I have told you the 3 muscles which are attached here. The 3 ligaments which are attached to the coracoid process are coracoclavicular ligament. Okay, coracoclavicular ligament, coracohumeral ligament, and coracoacromial ligament. So 3 ligaments going to the clavicle, to the acromial process, and to the humerus: coracoclavicular ligament, coracohumeral ligament, and coracoacromial ligament. So these are the attachments on the coracoid process. Now the spine and the acromion process have muscles which are there in continuation. As I told you, the upper lip of the crest of the spine is going to continue as medial border of the acromion. Now both these things, the upper lip of the crest of the spine and the medial border of the acromion, will provide insertion. I'll show you here. See, the upper lip of the crest of the spine, which continues as the medial border of the acromion, this together are going to provide insertion to the trapezius. And the lower lip of the crest of the spine, which is continuing as the lateral border of the acromion, this is going to provide origin to the deltoid. And the superior surface, if you can see here, the superior surface of the spine is going to provide origin to the supraspinatus, and inferior surface of the spine is going to provide origin to the infraspinatus. So understood? So these are the muscles which are attached along the processes. Now the three angles, the superior angle, the inferior angle and the glenoid angle. Now superior angle actually does not have any muscle which is attached here, but this is covered by the trapezius. The inferior angle will give origin to latissimus dorsi. Okay, so the inferior angle will give origin to latissimus dorsi, and the lateral angle or the glenoid angle. Now here, firstly you should know that this is going to be forming the shoulder joint, but there are two elevations which I showed you. One above here, this is called as supraglenoid tubercle, and one below, which is called as infraglenoid tubercle. The supraglenoid tubercle is going to give origin to the long head of the biceps, and infraglenoid tubercle will give origin to the long head of the triceps. So these are the attachments on the scapula. Now we have done all the features of the scapula. We have discussed the medial border, we have discussed the lateral border, we have discussed the surfaces, we have discussed the processes, we have discussed all the muscle attachments. Now its scapula per se becomes very easy to identify. When you have to identify the side of the scapula, you just have to identify anterior and the posterior surface with the spine and the medial and the lateral border. So you can very easily identify this is the anterior surface, this is the posterior surface, this is the medial border, this is the lateral border. So the scapula in my hand is the left sided scapula. The second important thing which you should remember, other than what I have talked of in the scapula, is to hold the scapula in anatomical position. The scapula is never held like this, it's never straight. You have to hold the scapula like a gun, meaning how the gun, meaning if it is the left side scapula, you hold in the left hand. It is held in such a way that the glenoid cavity is facing forwards and laterally, and the coracoid process is facing forwards. So that is the anatomical position of the scapula. It's never straight like this. It is like this. It's slightly tilted. That is what you have to understand. The other important thing which you should know about the scapula are the movements of the scapula. Now the scapula is going to take part in the formation of the shoulder joint. That is a different joint altogether, but it takes part in the formation of the shoulder girdle, and the movements of the shoulder girdle are the movements of the scapula. So there are four movements which you should understand, which are the movements of the shoulder girdle and per se the movements of the scapula. These movements are, this is called as elevation, then you have depression, and then you have protraction and retraction, meaning upward movement of the scapula, elevation, downward movement is depression, forward pushing and punching movement, this is called protraction, and backward movement is called retraction. So that is all about the osteology, the muscle attachments, the movements, and the important features of the scapula. This video is slightly long, but I feel, and it's a request to all of you to please observe this video carefully, and it's a kind request to please put in the comments of the video whether you have liked the videos, what improvements you want me to do, or what improvements should I make in the technical aspect of the videos, so that I can make these videos more interesting and more student friendly for you. Okay, again a kind request to please watch the video carefully. It's a long video, don't get bored in watching this. It will cover all aspects of the scapula in one video, and try to share this video with your friends, like the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.